From the Daily Mail.
Great.
MSNBC pundit flees to Canada after warning about Trump fascism.
You should drive a truck there.
A fascism expert is leaving the U.S. for Canada over fears of Trump. Jason Stanley.
Wait, I got to interrupt. Okay, I got to interrupt because this is germane. So a lot of times when they mention an expert, it's some random you've never heard of. This guy is one of the biggest tools on Twitter. He wrote books about fascism. He is like Blue Skies, what would become the Blue Sky crowd, go-to guy regarding fascism. So if he's fleeing, this is like a big scalp.
News. Yes.
You mean it's good news that more liberals will leave the country and go to Canada like we asked?
Maybe he'll sign up
Not
for
just
the MAID
liberals.
program.
Like this guy is an academic. He is like the patient zero of like I can't
fascism?
EDS.
yeah.
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 Can I say the S word?
Well, we try not to.
Okay, then I won't. That's why. Okay.
Just
I
because-
was going to say S-lib. That's why. Yeah.
You know,
that's fair.
Just for clarity for those watching, people watching their TVs with their kids in the living room.
Yep,
So
that's
it's a
fine.
news show.
That's why I asked. Yeah.
Although I'm not sure that's always appropriate. But curiously,
Oh, wow, this is a big because he's from Colombia. He had a posh gig.
yeah, he's fleeing.
Good.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think.
Man, this is making me rethink my opinion on voting. Because if I could vote and have people like him flee, I'm like, I don't know, guys.
Self-deport.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an actual positive result.
So
This is better than Rosie O'Donnell. I'm serious.
Far better. Far better.
great. I was thinking about this earlier today with Trump derangement syndrome, Elon derangement syndrome, Tesla derangement syndrome. I'm like, I think there's a certain point we just need to create a different word that encompasses the fact that the liberal cult are typically deranged. So Trump derangement syndrome does not get at it.
Wait, hold on. But Trump derangement syndrome is not exclusive to liberals.
Indeed. But I think that overwhelmingly those who are suffering TDS are suffering EDS and TDS squared.
I have EDS.
What is? I think I know what EDS is.
You definitely know. You got the remains.
So you've got Elon derangement syndrome. You've got Tesla derangement syndrome. You've got Trump derangement syndrome.
Yep.
Now you've got derangement syndrome
I'm going to
for
disagree.
all of these
'cause
people.
It's not Tesla derangement syndrome because here's how you know it's derangement syndrome. I was with my friend Steph in Japan last year. One of the greatest experiences of my life. Everyone, if you're thinking about going to Japan, I promise you'll love it.
Best.
It blew my mind. I really wanted to hate it.
That was the first time going?
Yes.
It
I
is.
wanted to hate it. I'm like, you guys brought me over.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's
And
so
one of the
good.
best things is I turn to her, I go, isn't it great being in a country where you know people aren't going to bring up Trump for no reason? and I think that's a key part of TDS is no matter what you're talking about, somehow the conversation revolves around Trump. That hasn't happened with Elon or Tesla. And it's not happening now in Trump now. It's not always happening.
I always bring a bottle of Trump wine to family holidays. I did not think
Jason Stanley's such a big deal.
you are so happy.
I've
really
got
good.
I'm saying with him on Twitter, he's so disingenuous and so because it's so like, you know, fascism defined by having an outgroup as opposed to what ideology? Like what government doesn't have America was founded on being anti-monarchist. You know, you have the Democrats, lowercase d, against an aristocracy or an overclass. Anarchists are against the government. Communists are against the bourgeoisie. Everyone has an outgroup.
This was this is basically just the conversation I've been having over the past several weeks. And we actually just had a moment ago on the Green Room show, which you can watch on rumble.com/TimcastIRL. I don't actually think these isms, for the most part, and these ideas matter as much. They are an individual who's a communist. It's not one for one. It's not one day you go, I'm a communist, and then you instantly are rigidly in line with everything all communists believe. So the real issue then is just this gradient of amoral to moral in the way that we view it. So when this guy says they're fascists, he exemplifies exactly what my point is. What does that mean? Just means bad guy.
No, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you because he does have a bullet point list. Yeah. But what I'm saying is this bullet point list is not at all exclusive to fascism the way he defined it to me.
That's my point.
Yeah.
He's not actually defining what fascism was academically, what it related to, because it doesn't exist right now.
Right. Do you know what else? One more thing, I'm sorry. If you read the Antifa, this was fascinating to me. I like reading what other people have to say because I'm like, let me understand the thought process. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. I read the Antifa handbook. Have you read it?
Yes.
He makes it a point, the author, I forget his name, apologies, to point out that who was the head of Spain? I'm blanking his name. Francisco Franco.
Franco, okay.
Was not a fascist. He was a Catholic nationalist, but Trump is. I'm like, I'm like, hold on.
To be fair, I have not read that in a very, very long time.
But the point is, like, what kind of logical leaps do you have to do that Franco is less of an authoritarian than Trump, who's the worst thing he did was bitched and moaned for 4 years that they stole the election from him.
Yeah.
Franco didn't have elections. He killed people, locked people up. Trump never did that. It was just fascinating. And he said this with a straight face. I'm like, you're defending Frank? If there's one person where I'm like, okay, like, fine, I'll give it to you. Franco. It was fascinating.
It's ridiculous, though. I mean, this guy in particular, I'm familiar with his tweets, and
oh yeah,
it is like you mentioned, it's a great scalp to have. And
This is the point that I wanted to get to for you, Michael.
Oh, I'm so happy.
In this country,
wait, is this an April Fool's? If you so, you got me. If this is my April Fool's, I will burn down this compound.
Maybe.
I'm gonna go Luigi.
Okay. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
That how did you describe it? You said laws are only what
the law is whatever those in power decide it is at any given moment. Nothing more, nothing less.
This is what the left has been operating on for quite some time.
Yes.
The late David Graeber, are you familiar with his work?
I'm not.
They called him the anarchist anthropologist.
Oh, okay.
And he hated being called that, but he was one of the original organizers of Occupy Wall Street.
Okay.
And he wrote this great thread. You'd think he was a leftist, but he wrote this thread before he died that the left has adopted the ethos, there is no truth but power.
Yeah.
Which was...
the central postmodernism.
And he said it was fascistic.
Yes, it is.
Right. And it was funny
It's
that
very fascistic. The progressives love the Mussolini.
Right. And so what we're dealing with right now is you made a really great point on a point that funny enough, when we were talking, it was a point I was going to make.
Oh,
the first
that's
battle.
why you think it's great.
Absolutely. I was like, Michael said before I could even say it. He must be a very smart guy. The first battle of Bull Run.
Yeah.
That the Confederates stuck to their principles.
Yep.
And decided not to march on D.C. and seize the White House. The first actual battle of the Civil War, Manassas or Bull Run, the Confederates routed the Union. The Union fled in panic. And the Confederates stopped at the border and said, we have proven we mean business. Let the war end here.
Yeah.
There will be no war. And then Lincoln said, crush them.
Yes.
If the Confederates...
And crush the Constitution.
Yes.
That's insofar as it's in my way, yes.
Arrest the Maryland legislature sympathetic to the Confederacy. Suspend habeas corpus between here, Pennsylvania, and D.C.
Lock up journalists.
Threaten to arrest the sitting Supreme Court justice for threatening to defy me.
On his march to the sea, General Sherman gave the okay to slaughter all the freed slaves that were following him because they were annoying him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he burned farms
By a
and killed
Union guy
families
whose
and
name
civilians.
happened to be Jefferson Davis.
And also the fact that they're burning down houses of people who just happen to be on the wrong side of a border.
Yeah.
Civilians. He torched their farms.
Yes. Yep.
And so,
Hitler
again,
with a top hat.
I'm not a fan of the Confederacy. They wanted to put slavery in their Constitution.
They
literally, and a lot of people are like, it wasn't about slavery. I'm like, bro, look at the
That's
Confederate
the lost
Constitution.
cause of the nonsense, yeah.
Yeah. But the point was, whatever you think about the conflict, if the Confederates on that day said, how'd you describe it? If we be hypocrites this one time,
Yeah.
then they would have won the Civil War.
Because they could have seized the White House, gotten Lincoln in his cabinet. It's like, okay, now we're going to negotiate from position of power.
Yep, that would have been the end.
I get this all the time because one of my big policy positions is that they should seize all university endowments, which are the crystallization of privilege, and distribute that money as reparations. And people are like, how do you, as an anarchist, going to reconcile the government seizing all this money? I'm like, you got me. This will be my one. Like, yep.
Well, the government exists, so might as well put it to
It's
good
my
use.
one hypocrisy.
I proposed. I had a guy on the show a few years ago.
And the thing of doing it, though, by the way, not the reparations part, but
I'm for reparations.
Of course.
I'm for reparations.
Well, you know my reparations plan.
What? No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, let me break it down for you. This is April Fool's, but I'm not kidding. There are, because reparations has to be reparations, right? If I burn down your $10,000 car, I can't give you $5,000. I have.
Oh, yes, I do know.
To make you whole,
Right.
right? So how are you going to compensate these estates or people who are owned? If your great grandma was a slave, I can't be like, here's 10 grand. You're like, oh, screw her. I got my 10 grand. I'm going to go to, buy a new car. There are in this country 41.5 million African Americans, according to Google, 40 million Canadians. They have made their point repeatedly through their actions and words that they don't want to be free. Slavery in the South is a nightmare. So obviously the definition, the opposite that will be slavery in the North will be heaven on earth. Every African American gets a Canadian. Racism is done forever. Reparations, you're back where you started up, repaired, and everyone's happy. And you can even match them up. So like Barack Obama is African. He does not get a slave. Michelle can get like, I don't know, like Jordan Peterson or something. That's great. Like Stacey Abrams can get God sad. Maybe can help her lose some weight. It all works out. And then
So-
no more ever talk of racism.
My point was how much
mean every white person
land
gets
is
an
controlled by
N-word
the Bureau of Land Management?
What's that?
How much land is controlled by the Bureau of Land
Is it like
Management?
60%? Something crazy?
We give all of that. We divvied up among all of the black population descendants of slaves. I don't care.
You want to send black people to live in the woods?
No, they'll own the property. They'll go live in the woods. They can do whatever they want with it. But we take it from the federal government, break it up, and give it to the descendants of slaves. I don't care if you're white, black, Latino, whatever. You got a slavery ancestry. We got a parcel of land just for you because I don't want the federal government to have it. And I don't care who else gets it. But if this is a compromise that gets us there, I'll take it.
But I think the only reparations for slavery is enslavement.
It's like eye for
So here's the real problem.
Slavery.
The real problem with reparations is that they're impossible because the population expansion is exponential and the descendants of slaves now exceed the amount of land available to repair them as was the 40 acres and a mule. It's impossible.
But that 40 acres and a mule would have been reparations either, to be fair.
No, I know. But at the time they were like, we'll give you this. And then they didn't. And that's the argument they're making. The advocates for reparations. And I'm like, right. And now there's an exponential expansion of the descendants of slaves, substantially more.
But what's even crazier is that the reparations that they're talking about in California was never a slave state.
Yeah.
They're getting the reparations for like you were discriminated against in housing. It's like, wait. Like I've gone for apartments I didn't get. Like I do not get become a millionaire.
It's like recent history.
This was an interesting conversation we had on the Culture War podcast about Mahmoud Khalil. Mm-hmm. And the issue I was brought up by this liberal attorney who said, he's not accused by the government of committing crimes. He's got allowed to have his free speech. So let's not argue what the government is not arguing and simply say they've accused him of distributing or being aligned with Hamas. Therefore, free speech. And I just said, if a black man walks into a bakery and the owner says, we don't serve black people, is that legal or illegal? And he says, of course it's illegal. And I said, okay. If the black man walks into a bakery and the guy says, we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. You, sir, you have to leave. Is that legal or that's legal? Okay, so the distinction between legal and legal is whether or not he expresses his intent to be racist. Right. That's easily masked. In this regard, Donald Trump, his administration, can use any legal justification they want for removing someone so long it's codified, so long as they don't say certain words.
Sure.
It makes literally no sense to operate this way as a country. So now we have, if you're racist, just don't tell anybody and you're okay.
Well,
just don't tell.
Yeah, I mean, I had Francis from Trigonometry on my show, and he was talking about like how it's crazy that like people are going to get fired for their views. And I'm like, I don't think it's crazy at all, because I said, everyone in this room, there's people at certain views. You're like, you know what? Great. I'm not working with you. Like someone's like advocating for maps. I'm like, that's nice. Like, goodbye. Like, we're not having this conversation.
Yep.
And he's like, well, like, at what point do you draw the line? I'm like, he's like, what if some of them want to discriminate against race? I go, yeah, it's called freedom of association. And it never entered his head, because like in Europe, it's just like given, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, the basis of property is you can hire and fire whoever you want. And Jim Crow was mandated racism. If I had a white business and I want to hire these educated or hardworking black people to work for my company, and I could pay them pennies on a dollar because no one else is hiring them, I legally couldn't. Mm-hmm. So it was forcing people to be prejudiced as opposed to letting a more liberal order. And then very quickly it would fall apart, because it's going to be very hard to discriminate against people, those of whom are bringing great value to your company, which many of them would.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.